Whoa, Kiwi, what the heck is going on? 3 videos in 3 weeks? That's like so unheard of. You usually post every 2 weeks, or you might even go a month without dropping anything. Is there something going on? Are the rent bills high? Did you have a bad day? Is your mental state okay? Well, I can say that after this video, certainly not. Last week I dropped a hot take on everyone's favorite romance anime, and let's just say that I got some normal, justifiable comments and some nonsensical allegations against my already terrible name. But what I didn't realize that after watching episode 13 of the anime and making a video about the series, Gachiakuta, another show that is airing at the same time, dropped their 13th episode literally an hour after I published my video. And I thought, fuck it, I just finished this project that took me weeks, I got free time, I'ma watch it by myself. And man, this is life-changing. Today we're going to be talking about Gachiakuta's amo Empool, who I personally think is the most tragic character in shonen. And I gotta be careful there because I know some dudes are gonna be like, actually, she hasn't suffered as much as Sosuke Bosuke from Berkeley and Sagaban, so you can't say that. Alright, I get it. The most tragic character in shonen anime. Maybe you need to watch all of Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man because Denji and Itadori shonen anime of recent times. Well, if you read the hentai 349790, the girl in there gets kidnapped and tortured. Oh my god, I don't care. But if we're being honest, regardless of what you think, whether or not you agree to my claim of her being the most tragic character, I think it has come to a point where it's undeniable that her story is definitely one of the most disturbing ones you will ever see. And before I get into that talking point, I need to give a tiny bit of context for the people who didn't watch my last video. Don't feel bad, it's not mandatory to watch all of my videos, even though I'd really like it if you do because I am running low on rent. But there are some opinions I've said there that I need to reinforce to support my claims. I am a guy who likes rom-coms and cheesy shit, and on paper, The Fragrant Flowers is an anime that do these things well. But I mentioned the importance of executing your writing because as much as I would usually like the things that they include, I am not a big fan of how they are presented to us. For example, I like OP characters who can effortlessly beat their opponents while also talking shit. Escanor, Sukuna, Madara, these are some of the guys I love. But if the anime shows off that type of character by doing this shit,
Rintaro wa saikō ni kakkoi otoko da yo. Sore dake obaete kiyotsukete kaette ne.
Ooh yeah, me no likey. So how does this correlate to what I want to talk about in Gachiakuta? Well, because they execute it really well. I mean, clearly, that's what I was going for. I think the best of the best villain flashbacks need to complete a certain objective in order for it to be counted as a good flashback. There's a famous saying that goes, a villain's story is not supposed to make you agree with them, but rather to make you empathize with them. But I think I would add a slight tweak to that saying, because I think a flashback can be even better if they recontextualize scenes that show the villain's actions before this. Think back to season 4 of Attack on Titan where we see Zeke's backstory, and after watching that, you rewatch the series, it gives a lot more context to what he says and the actions in the previous seasons. When Amo was first introduced, she came off as someone bratty, impulsive, annoying, so annoying that people celebrated when the main character gave her equal rights and lefts. But the episode that comes after that really changes how you view her in the previous episodes. And what I love is that it's not just a sob story for us to feel bad for her, therefore she didn't deserve to get this treatment. Nah, I still think she deserved to get punched for nearly killing all of the squad. But her backstory not only serves as a plot device to get the story going forward, but it also gives us an understanding of Amo as a character. The first thing we ever see child Amo doing is being a pure kid who is loving and caring. When she sees a dirty bird in a world full of trash, instead of avoiding it due to its filth, she calls it cute. But it was until her mom told her to stop, as there is no use in loving a bird who can't love her back. And because of that, she said, "Oh okay, then I hate it." Then. This is a really important word. This shows that despite all the innocence that she has, her idea of love is being skewed by her mom, the person who is responsible for teaching her about everything, as she is the biggest ray of light in her life. Don't do this, do that instead. Don't do that, do this instead. When you are this small, there's really no reason in your mind where you would disobey your parent, which is why her mom teaching her this lesson is so cynical. Don't love something that can't love you back. Instead, love something that loves you. Which, in hindsight, isn't that bad of a lesson, but that all falls flat when she uses that to manipulate her into going with this guy, who has very, very bad intentions.
よかったね、あまちゃん。あの人ならずーっとあなたのことを好きでいてくれるわ。
You know, as someone who loves moms, you are up there with some of the ones I hate with a passion. And what follows after that is the start of something that just makes me sick to the stomach. And that is whenever the story switches to Amo's point of view, where she sees everything as sunshine and rainbows, and the sequence momentarily changes to a kid's drawings. This is one of the most twisted use of genius I've ever seen, and it's one of the reasons why I fell in love with animation in general. Some of the best pieces of fiction are animated because it's a medium that allows for a type of storytelling that wouldn't be possible otherwise. The way of animating it shows how mentally Amo is a child. I mean, yes, she is a child, but it's the scene after that that makes it hits. When you're at this age, it wouldn't be much of an exaggeration to say that you see things as happy and bright as she does. But then we get a time skip where Amo had already grown a lot physically, but mentally, she's stuck. When this piece of shit tries to get Amo to offer her yams to him, Amo rejects it because she feels hurt whenever they do it. But then again, just like her mom, he easily manipulates her into thinking that what she's feeling is love. And then, it reveals itself again. The flowers start popping up. The point of view changes back to crayons, showing that although she's grown to a teen, inside, she is still the same tiny child as before. But as the sequence continues, everything starts getting dark. The piano sounds more distorted, the voices are much more demonic because in her mind, something feels wrong. But because she is stuck in this delusion and dictated by the influences and demands of the adults in her life, she blacks it out and wakes up after the act thinking that what she did was love. And what's crazy is showing the SA being taken in this type of perspective makes me feel more disgusted than reading actual messed up lolly hentais. How do I know this? Don't ask, I lost a bet. And I think it's because the idea that she's being manipulated into thinking that this is a joyous act, an event to have fun with, not knowing that this is one of the most heinous acts that could ever be done to you, period, is what makes this so much more tragic. And when it's over, she seems satisfied, almost like her body is gaslighting her into thinking that what happened was love, like some sort of coping mechanism. But then, we saw what happened next. That shit was so satisfying, and I'm thankful they give us 3 different angles. But what's great about this entire thing is the fact that Amo didn't feel anything. This is the man who she is supposed to be in love with, but when she saw him getting knocked the fuck out, she felt nothing. And that's when a masked person gave her the boots, telling her that it will fill up the voids that's left by all the pain she got from this cruel world. And before she could even process what happened, she asked them for their name, but then the masked people revealed themselves, as they let their wings soar, and Amo, being taken aback, had tears run down her face. A callback to how she even saw those dark, filthy feathers from the wings in the beginning and gave it her love. This time, she found ones that are shining, radiant, soaring through the sky, and I personally think she didn't even know that she cried. But it's because this is the first time in her life where Amo's actually seen something beautiful, the first thing that's actually given her any type of real hope in this dirty world that she lives in. It's the first time where Amo is finally beaming again, excited, and out of that excitement, she goes to the old man full of joy, talking about what she just saw, like a kid telling her parents about all the cool things she saw in school. But of course, Amo gets a reminder that she still lives in that dirty world. The man pushes her down and abuses her by kicking her repeatedly for being disobedient, but this time, it's different. Because of those boots, she starts acting up. Normally, she would just endure and accept whatever's happening without feeling anything, but this time, the void in her is filled. She starts having emotions, anger, annoyance. For the first time, Amo actually wants something for herself. And all those emotions start to stir up, ready for her to go berserk in order to protect the one only thing she's ever wanted. But instead of going crazy, which she could have and probably should have done, she pushed those feelings down. She by any means have no need to be nice to this guy at all, but despite that, she still bowed down and politely asked him for this one thing. Other than that, she would be okay with whatever she has to endure. As long as she gets these boots, it'll be fine. Her first and last ever request. This further shows how no matter how much this world stains her, she's still a sweet, innocent kid that wants to live in that cutesy, flower-filled world she thinks herself is in. In her core, she is still a bright kid that just wants to spread love and be loved. But of course, we know the man rejects her again, spitting on her decision to try to be nice in this wasteland, which causes her to crash out and finally show that ugly side of her that we've always seen in the episodes prior to this flashback. And this entire fight scene, which isn't even really a fight, is my favorite of the series so far. The raw emotions, her being a child not knowing how to fight so she just goes feral on a man much larger than her. The way they animated this just perfectly encapsulates what it's like to be in pure rage. Anger, irrationality, concentrated crash out energy. Her mind is broken and is finally throwing a tantrum for the very first time in her life. And what comes out of it was something we all celebrated. Yet, for the victim, it is a cruel wake-up call. Once he's finally hit the ground, she starts contemplating and realizing the boots that made her human made her slowly understand what it is that's been happening to her this whole time. Why was she here? What has the man been doing to her? How could he do such a thing? Why did my mom, my only light, sell me off to a person who would do that to me? And then it hit her. But she denies it. She knows damn well deep in her heart that what happened was far darker and bleak, yet she copes, wanting to believe that this world that she lives in is bright, that nobody would do such sinful acts to her, turning something negative and making out to be a positive, doing insane mental gymnastics just to delude herself into thinking that she didn't get abused in the most horrifying ways, but instead thinking that all of those traumatic events were necessary in order to be loved, because that's all she's ever wanted. Even going back to the bird, heck, even until now, that's all she lives for. If you try to remember her first interaction with the squad, all she ever wanted to do was have a love talk with them. Yet their line of questioning makes it come off like they don't care about her and only want to get the information that she has, which heavily implies that they're only trying to use her, which caused the entire altercation to happen in the first place. I'm not defending her, I'm just saying that in a simple story of shonen, this fight was far more complex than you initially thought, because this girl who nearly got the entire team killed was in no way a bad person, just misunderstood. I mean, even when she lost and Rudo was on her way to beat her up, the uncomfortable thing to think about is remembering how the creepo said that Amo smells so good, and so when Rudo got close, she did a seductive look and said, "You can't get enough of Amo's smell, huh?" Her psyche is messed up, because that's all she knows and thinks that that is the only proper way to receive and get that love she so deeply desires. I mean, heck, we can even look deeper and analyze the way she's wearing her clothes. I remember watching episode 10 with my cousin and they were questioning why she's practically half naked and concluded it as fan service. But it's really because she thinks the peak of love is when you seduce someone with your body. That, or the fact that that is the man's favorite way of clothing her and she wants to stay pretty to get love from people. So when that punch actually lands on her, that's when she finally understood. Or rather, she finally stops coping and pushing down what she really knows. This beatdown got rid of all the coping that she's been doing, the flowers if you will, taking her out of the delusions and bring her into the real, dark and gritty reality she actually lives in. That's why she got quiet. That's why when Rudo came to apologize, she said that it was unneeded, because she knows deep down that everything she's been doing is wrong. Her name is literally a direct translation to love in multiple languages, yet when it comes down to it, there's been no instance where she's been able to properly show it, because as she says, the only time we ever use our hands is when we want to hit each other, and that's why the world never changes. But then, it does, because that's when the main character Rudo resonates with her. Someone who is built the same way as Amo, someone who was broken until he got the item that made him feel whole. He raises his hands again, but this time, it is to reach out to her, wanting her to be a part of his life. The life of someone who has friends. If a person who is just like her can live this type of life, then maybe she can too. But it doesn't act like a smartass. He clearly tells her that he himself doesn't know what to do, but he invites her to learn together. For the first time, Amo is not alone. Her long, basic wish of living in a bright world is slowly being fulfilled. Because here is a person who is living that life, and she is starting to become a part of it. That's when the cleaners start leaving. They become friends and tell Amo that they will come and visit her at times, giving her a way where she can communicate with them whenever she wants. And when Rudo leaves and says see you later, she was surprised. Something as simple as that made her happy. Made her so happy that when she goes back home, she's still giggling about that moment and feels giddy for that seemingly small trivial exchange. But no matter how trivial it seems, it is still a significant moment because it is the first time someone's actually reciprocated her love.